Hi everyone, I'm Mary, Uplifters founder and CEO, and here is Jenny, our community building officer.
Hi everyone. Good evening.
So Uplifters is a non-profit organization empowering underprivileged communities with online education and peer support. And we offer a free online money management course for domestic workers. And to join, just need to click send message on our Facebook page. So this is the second episode of our antivirus series, and we are super happy to be here with you tonight. These are obviously very challenging times for all of us, and especially for our community. So our objective with this antivirus video live is one, reply to your questions if we can, and if we cannot, at least collect them and then come back to you once we have consulted professionals. And the second objective is honestly just to be there together, provide each other comfort, because this is a difficult situation for sure. And we will go through it together. So we always say Uplifters is a community first and foremost, and it has never been as true as right now.
Yeah. We are very happy to have Bhing Navato as our guest tonight. She's a domestic worker in Singapore and a committed volunteer at home, a humanitarian organization for migration economics. We will discuss questions related to your restless. Welcome to our live broadcast, Bing. It's a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello everyone. Yes,
Hi.
my name is Bing, and I'm really happy to be here in your live broadcast. Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you so much for taking the time, and hi as well to the people who have already joined us tonight. So hi Jeneline, it's very nice to see you. Jeneline is one of our team leaders in Singapore, so a domestic worker who is helping new students through their studies. We have also Siafira from Singapore. Beng Dongit, it's nice to see you all. Oh, I see Audie from Hong Kong as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, thank you so much for being here with us tonight, and we are very happy to bring new content and new answer to you from Bing. She's an expert, and we are very lucky to have her with us tonight.
Yeah. Thank you again, Bing, for joining us. So, our let's start our questions. First of all, Dean, can you tell us something about yourself and your work as a domestic worker? How long have you been working in Singapore?
Uh, yeah. So I've been a domestic worker here in Singapore for almost 25 years, and yeah, I really like it here. I have very good employers even before. So I I joined the volunteer at home because I wanted to help my fellow domestic workers. I always say to people that I know I can do something. I know I can do something to help them. I know I can encourage them. Yeah, with my experience in my 25 years of experience, of course, can be shared with them. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're a volunteer for home. Please tell us more about the work that you're doing for them and why did you decide to volunteer with this particular organization?
Okay, I've been volunteering for home for uh, 5 years already,
Wow.
and yeah, so I really like it here. If my fellow volunteers will ask me to do something, I always say, my anything for home because I like to help. I like to share my experiences to other people, especially for my fellow domestic workers here, especially for the newcomers. I want them to know that there is someone like me. Of course, there are lots of volunteers of home, and we just want to know that we are here. They have a friend here, that they're not alone because many of them feel homesick the moment they come here. So we just want to show them that you know we are here, willing to listen to them, and you know share their burdens, of course, and then at least for sometimes they will find a friend in us.
Yeah, I think it's very important to get support from fellow domestic workers, and we are really amazed by what you are doing at home with. I mean, of course, there's the volunteers, but it's very important for the community, and yeah. So maybe a few more words about home, so that people who don't know home get more familiar. Can you please tell us a little bit more about what kind of support you bring to the domestic workers who come to home?
Sorry again.
Yeah, can you please tell us a little bit more about what kind of support you can bring to the domestic workers who call the hotline, for example, of home, or who come on
Okay.
Sunday?
Yeah. So for the domestic who calls on the hotline or who comes on Sunday, they can tell us their problems. There are times that as we listen to them, we can feel that they just need someone to you know to tell. I mean, they just need someone to listen to them. I think that's a very important thing if you are a migrant worker, especially like a domestic worker, because you've been tied up in your employer's home. And
Yeah.
for the newcomers, they wouldn't know what to do. They wouldn't know, although they have like a training before they start, but it's still different when they do it in reality, in actual. So
Yeah.
for us, the volunteers of home, what we do is we lend a listening ear to them and give them advices, encourage them that you know uh, this happens all the time, and we give them solutions and suggestions to what they can do, in order to save their jobs, because that's the most important thing. And
Great.
for
Well,
those
thank you
people
so much.
who comes on Sunday, it's still the same. There are times as a volunteer I've experienced that some domestic workers will call at midnight.
Okay.
So for us volunteers, it is very important.
Well, I think we have maybe some issue with the connection, but I'm sure Bing will be back very quickly. So yes, she's going to be back in a second. No worries, we all have technical issues from time to time. So Bing is back. The things that are very important is you have the phone numbers here. So you have the home phone number. You have also the WhatsApp, the Viber. Please take notes. So this is a hotline you can call if you have any issue related to your work as a domestic worker, and you will get support from these amazing volunteers. I'm just going to say hi for the new people who have just joined us. And yes, so thank you, Rosemary, for being with us as well tonight, and Joanne. For sure, Joanne is one of our team leaders in Hong Kong. Noor, it's nice to see you here, and Ruiz Lamada as well. We have a lot of questions for Bing. Let's continue generally.
Let's talk about the impact of COVID-19 to the rest days of domestic workers in particular. As migrant domestic workers are strongly encouraged by both the Hong Kong and Singapore governments to stay at home on their rest days. And we often we receive a lot of comments about this. So, how is this affecting domestic workers, and what are the main problems they are encountering?
So just a quick note before Bing replies, because the situation is a little bit different in Hong Kong and Singapore. So in Singapore, the employers are allowed to pay domestic workers to work on rest days, so it's legal. While in Hong Kong, you cannot pay to replace a rest day. You can only replace with another rest day. So also in Singapore, the Ministry of Manpower, so MEOM, authorize light duties on the day off. It's legal to ask the domestic worker to do a few things. While in Hong Kong, normally the domestic worker is entitled to 24 hours of no interrupted rest, even if that's not always applied. So I will ask the question again so that everybody is on the same page. So whatever the legal situation, COVID-19 is having an impact on the rest of the domestic workers. And because everybody is still encouraged to stay at home, and we wanted to ask Bing how it does affect the domestic workers she knows, and what are the main problems that they are encountering. So, okay. Sorry, you can go ahead.
So, can you please repeat the question again?
Yes, it's about the impact of COVID-19 on the rest days of domestic workers.
The impact of COVID-19. It's been happening for like 2 weeks. 2 weeks. When MOM sent a notice, that the first notice was encourage domestic workers to stay at home on their rest days. But if they have errands that they need to do, they can go and do it, but they need to go back as soon as they finish it. So it is not like it is not mandatory actually. I mean, employers also and domestic workers have a choice. They can talk about it. That's what we're telling to most of our callers. So we're telling them that this is not mandatory because you can hear from domestic workers that some of them are not allowed to go out on Sundays, but they can go out on weekdays running on errands for their employers. So for them, they feel it's really unfair for them that on Sundays they cannot do it. So a lot of domestic workers are complaining about their rest day because most of the domestic workers here, especially the newcomers, they don't have their own space. So some of them are complaining that, okay, if my employer will allow me to take a rest, so where will I do it? If I sleep in the living room, so how will I take a rest there? And I've read one comment on my article saying that I sleep at the balcony. So how can she take a rest on that? Yeah. So a lot of domestic workers are affected, especially for those who have 1 day off, once a month off day. And here in Singapore, they are allowed, employers are allowed to pay their domestic workers compensation if they don't go out. Because that's what they do here all the time. Like if the employer needs you on Sunday, they need to pay you. That's how they do it. But some domestic workers will not be so lucky to have it. And especially now that the notice from MOM keep changing. Like every 2 days. Yeah.
So a lot of frustration and probably overwork as well, and not being properly compensated. So I guess you are having a lot of issues on the phone these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we'll proceed to the next question. Yeah. So
Yeah. Can you just
how
repeat?
Bing, how should domestic workers handle the issues you have described?
I think there's a something wrong with my earpiece. I just I don't hear clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead, Janelle. Sorry, go.
Okay. It's okay. Yes, Bing, how should domestic workers handle the issues you have described?
Wait, see, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay?
Is it okay? I can send it. I can send a message to you or the question here. So
Yeah, so we are asking about what advice do you give them? Can you hear us? What advice can you give
Yeah,
to them?
okay. What advice can I give to domestic workers?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, for example, I have a few calls earlier this week about domestic workers who want to go out on Sundays. I always remind them that they need to talk to their employer first. They need to ask, and they need to ask like really nicely. Of course, I mean you need a favor, so you need to do it really nicely. So they should make it a point that they just need to get something or send money because that's the most important thing now for domestic workers here. That what's happening in the Philippines and Indonesia, I'm sure a lot of them just want to remit money to their families. So most of their reasons now for going out is they would just want to send money for their families for just to help them. So they need to tell their employers the truth of what they would do first. And they need to understand the current situation here in Singapore. They need to understand. I always tell them that this is really what's happening now. This is not just for us domestic workers, but for everyone here. We just need to be careful.
Yeah.
So I always tell them that if you need to go out, please don't go out in groups anymore. Uh, you should mind the social distancing. You should always remember that. So for some domestic workers who will, I've heard some that they just want to go out and meet some friends. I told them that if you can avoid that for now, I mean, just for your sake, because we are so thankful for now that no domestic workers is infected by the COVID virus. So it happened before, earlier, I think it was last month, but the two that were infected was from their employers. But there was no domestic workers who were infected just because they're going out or on their off day. So I always remind them to yeah to avoid the parties or just do your errands. Just do the most important thing that you need to do, especially like sending money to the Philippines or to your families back in your country.
Yeah. And just to get a bit more details, so if the domestic workers is too shy to talk to an employer, what do you advise for the domestic workers who feel very shy talking to their employers? If she's too shy, she doesn't dare talking.
Sorry.
Advice for people who are very shy.
Advice for people who are
very shy.
inside.
Let me write a banner so you're gonna see it, like everybody. Advice for shy people. That's okay. We're going to find a way to make it work.
Sorry.
Can you see it?
Oh, advice for shy people.
Yes.
Shy people like who cannot talk to their employers.
Yes.
I know there are so many of them here. I call them they don't have what's the problem here in Singapore most of the time is that we don't have the power of negotiation to our employers. Most of us are like, we just say yes all the time to our employers because we need to keep our job. So for shy people, they will not ask. They will not ask. But I always tell them that uh, you came here. That's your first step of being courageous. So if you need to do something or if you want something, you need to tell your employers. You need to talk to them like an adult. That's why most of the employers here will treat their domestic workers like young girls, like we don't know anything. So we just want to make it sure that, I always tell them, make your point. Just tell your employers. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It is better than assuming something that, you know, uh, they might not allow me to go out. Why don't you try to ask them nicely? I think they will listen to you. So we should stop assuming that employers will not allow us to be like this or to do this. So yeah, for shy people, because they always say I'm scared, uh, they will say that my employers will tell me that, oh, I will go home. My employers will do this and do that. So I think I used to tell them that you should, you know, you should have the courage to talk to your employer. That's the most important thing. And I always tell them that
Yeah.
being a domestic worker, I'm just a domestic worker like you. And I always do what I say. I will tell my employers too, but very nicely.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
see Mary Reen Coloma is commenting domestic workers who are shy to talk to their employers should gain courage to speak up what they feel. Employers or otherwise will take advantage of you. So yes, that's true. It's not easy, but finding a way, as being mentioned, to speak adult to adult. And we in our online course, in the free online course, we talk a lot about communications, and it's very important. It's a very good investment in yourself to learn to speak up and to communicate well. We had another question from Aldita Bella Ragazza saying it's always an issue when domestic workers are not allowed to go out on Sunday, but they do run errands for their bosses. And then the boss may go out, and if they catch a virus and they infect a domestic worker, then what can mom say to this? So what would you answer, Bing? What if the employer infect the domestic worker? So I've just posted the question so that you can look at it, Bing.
hmm Yeah. What if the employer here in Singapore? They said that, like for me, I feel that like we're safer here. So if the employer will infect the domestic worker, of course, they will pay for their medical bills. And I think Singapore will shoulder it too.
Yeah,
And
so
once
normally they are
the
protected, right?
yeah, so once the domestic worker is infected, I hope that she will be responsible to to do the distancing, to do the quarantine,
Yeah.
and make sure that she will let her friends know, because that's
Yeah.
what we're scared of. I mean, I can understand why the Ministry of Manpower is sending notice all the time for domestic workers, because they've seen how we mingle with each other here on Sundays. It's a lot. So there are domestic workers who will not follow the rules, and that's why these rules are implemented again and again. And now there are officers that are uh, going out on Sundays to check all the places where domestic workers go. So they just need to be responsible.
You want to go on, Jenny? We have so many questions for you, Bing. I think we have a few more.
Yes, and yeah, thank you for sharing your insights, Bing. And we'd like to hear about your experience. Were your rest days also affected since the situation started? Were your rest days also affected?
I'm going to type it, Bing, so you can see it as well. Because I know I don't have a good connection, so I'm just asking about your own experience with your rest day.
Yes, my rest day was really affected with this COVID. First of all, I want to set as a good example for my fellow domestic workers too. You know, like not going out, and even my fellow volunteers do the same thing. The home office in Lucky Plaza and in Peninsula Plaza and in City Plaza are all closed because we just need to do distancing. And it is affected because my employer is pregnant and she will give birth soon. So I need to be careful also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it will be on Monday. It will be on Monday. So I'm. So they talked to me about it. Honestly, at first, a month ago, when they told me to, stay away from crowded places, I was like, why should I do that? I know how to distance. I know how to take care of myself. I did not understand it at first. So, but later they will keep on reminding me, just like the notice of Ministry of Manpower. And I understand it. I mean, this is not just for their safety, but it is for my safety as well.
Yeah.
That's what I understand. Because aside from, telling me don't go out if you can, they offered me a lot of things to do on Sundays. So you can invite a friend, or you can do this thing, you can do that. So, they are very understanding in some ways. Although this is very new to us, it is not easy for me because I've been with people every Sunday. I do a lot of things on Sundays. So it's so difficult for me. But seeing the situation here in Singapore now, every day there are more cases that were reported. So we really need to be careful. So I'm telling all my fellow domestic workers in Singapore that we should understand the situation. Let's understand. And then if we have a problem with work, we can talk to our employer first. Try to talk to them first. Because if they complain, they will be asked to, if did you talk to your employers? You know,
Yeah.
Tell them honestly what you really need to do. If your employer will offer you to, okay, I can go with you. If you want to send money, I can go with you. Just say yes. I mean, the most important thing first, you know, this will be over soon, I hope. I mean, everybody wants to be out, everybody wants to go back to normal life again. But we just need to be obedient, you know. So that's what I'm doing. It's like it was not easy to stay in my room like half. for half a day.
Mm.
So, but I'm doing it. I
Yeah.
mean, we volunteers, I believe that we just want to set a good example for our fellow domestic workers here.
Hi, Chris. I'm sorry, I'm just playing with this thing. It's nice. We can show the comments actually on the screen as well. I did it without really knowing what I was doing, but hi, it's nice to see you. Sorry for interrupting you, Bing. It was not intentional. We had a few comments while you were talking actually. So that's nice. I can show them like this. So we had Mary Reen, who was commenting that employers have to bear the cost, of course, if they inspect domestic workers. And I mean, even if it's not
Yes,
them, but if the domestic workers get sick, right, employers have to pay all medical costs.
yes, it's true.
Then we add Inde Gracia. So thank you for commenting as well. Yes, so you will get the same treatment. Yes, right, Bing? Can you see the screen? So I think they would get indeed the
Yeah,
same
they will get the
treatment.
same treatment. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And so then we want to say hi to Salbor. Thank you. Hi, thanks for joining us. And as well, Christina. Welcome. Well, it's nice. We can say hi to everybody this way. A few things I wanted to remind everybody. So we have the hotline for Singapore. So if you have any important issue and you want to ask for advice, so this is the phone number. We have already mentioned it before. There is a similar non-profit organization in Hong Kong. The name is Help for Domestic Workers, and they also do have a phone number and WhatsApp in Bahasa Indonesia as well. So you can also call them if you're having issues and you need advice. So please take note, and we will also comment and add the numbers in the comments so you can find them later on. Generally, we have a few more questions, right?
Yeah, we have. Yes. So, yeah, can I proceed?
Yeah, please.
The
I'm going to do the same and add in the banner so everybody can see it.
Okay. Yeah. Some of our members have shared feelings of anxiety and loneliness because of not being able to go out during their day off, and it's even more difficult to those who have been asked to work on their rest days. And because of stay-at-home guidelines, their employer's family is at home most of the time, and domestic workers find themselves doing more work and not getting adequate rest. What is your advice to those who are struggling to cope with these changes?
So how to cope with anxiety and loneliness?
And loneliness.
Yeah, that's an important topic.
Mhm.
How to cope? Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, how to cope with anxiety and loneliness. Um, there are so many, especially at this time, there are so many online learnings that we can find in the internet. Okay. Aside from doing TikTok, I know TikTok is so popular right now.
It is very popular.
I'm going to add something just for fun here.
Yeah. So I always believe in, yeah, join Uplifters. It's true. Because it's an online learning. That's what I think. That's what my comment earlier in my article. Yeah. So someone said that she's bored on Sundays now. So I said you can look for online learnings. There's so many things to do, right? And you can take your time also. If your employer especially will allows you to stay at home and rest, take your time to chat with your family, chat with your friends, find the friends that you haven't, talked for a long time. And you can write a story, you can write a poem. There's so many things to do. And if your employer will allow you to go out for like a couple of hours, you can do some exercise. I mean, this is not the end of the world. I mean, at least we are not like in the total lockdown, like some countries in Europe, right? So at least we can still do something. I think yeah, and I think because of this of this situation now, I think a lot of people will pick up new hobbies. Yeah, I mean, you can start drawing. I know there's one online drawing.
Oh, we have lost Bing again, but I'm sure she's going to be back. We're going to look at the other comment while she comes back. We're really sorry with all the problems with the connection. She's going to be back soon. Oh, yes, so she's back already. Hi again.
Hello. Yeah, we're back.
So yes, you were saying about all the things you can do for coping with anxiety and loneliness. We had a few comments as well. And yeah.
And then there was.
So that's okay. I am much more scared every time you go out for work. That's a good. Well, if you say it nicely, that's actually quite fun. It's nice that your employer laughed as well. I like it. Yeah, I mean, depends on what is your relationship with your employer, but it's nice to have a nice and good relationship like this where you can say these kind of things. Of course, depends on your relationship with the employer.
Yeah, but I always believe in communication. It will always end up in good thing. It depends on how you talk.
Yeah.
Right. But it is very important for us to communicate so that they will know. Even though we don't have a good relationship with our employer, at least we let them know. Because normally when we do some complaints, the first thing that we ask, did you tell your employer about this, about how you feel? So, I mean, you can try. We cannot, that's why I said earlier that we cannot always assume on things that, they are like this, they might be like this. So, communication is very important. No matter how fierce your employer is, but at least you will, make your point in a very nice way. Yeah.
We cut a little bit when you were talking about advice about anxiety, loneliness. Do you have more things to add?
Yeah. Because there was an online, like a drawing, online drawing for beginners, kind of like that. It's always posted on FB, on Facebook. So you can look for some things, and you can listen to music, and also one of the best thing you can do to cope with your anxiety and loneliness is to pray. I think that's the one of like for Filipinos, for anyone. I think now it's like to ease your stress is that you just continue praying.
Yeah. So we had a comment from Shajina. Thank you for commenting. Yes, being thankful that you can use your phone and to listening to sermons, watching comedies. Yeah, nice suggestions as well.
True. Yeah.
And so thank you everybody for commenting and being here with us. I feel we had a lot of a good suggestion here. And let's continue. I know we wanted to ask a few more things. Yes, we were wondering what are your tips regarding social distancing? How to practice social distancing?
Okay. Here with my friends in condo, even though we don't go out, there are like 5 of us. We sit really separate from one another, and we make sure that we clean our hands. Sometimes we still, share food, but we make sure that, there's a proper hygiene, in between all of us, So social distancing means you cannot go to a crowded place, avoid crowded place. And if you want to meet your friend, I think you should meet one friend for now, or 3, or just stay like here in Singapore. It's like, okay, 1 meter apart, 1 meter apart. So they always say that.
Yeah, it's the same here in Hong Kong, right? Generally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
here,
like going to. Sorry. Yeah, like
sorry.
on okay.
Bing, go ahead. I'm going to choose, and then generally.
Okay. Me?
Yes,
I think that's the
Bing.
most important thing now is to, especially now at this moment, that for domestic workers to avoid the crowded places, especially like when you do when your employer asks you to go to the grocery, make sure that you are like 1 meter apart from someone else behind or in front of you, or don't go to a crowded supermarket. Yeah, you just need to be mindful of those things, because that's the most important thing to do now.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a few more comments. We have a comment from Isaac who is sharing what he's doing to cope with anxiety and loneliness. So, yeah, clearly focusing on what keeps you positive, what you love to do, reminding yourself it's temporary. It's
Yes.
your very good comment, right? Thank you. Yeah, reminding yourself of your purpose, why you are here. It's very true.
Yes.
And we have another comment from beloved Mia about the new law in amendment in Hong Kong. Yes, it's very important. So it's a little bit different in Singapore. In Singapore, it's no more than 10, but in Hong Kong, it's no more than 4 in public places since last week. And you need to be aware of this new amendment. And then, yes, otherwise there could be very bad consequences for you. So thank you, beloved Mia. And yes, we're going to remind everybody again on the Facebook group. I think we have shared already, but we will for sure remind everybody again. Thank you for reminding us. And then we had a comment related to social distancing. Thank you, Mary Rind, for commenting again. Wow, that's a
You're the virus.
yeah, it's a good way to do it. Thank you for sharing. Do you want to add something before we wrap up? I'm going to ask everybody listening to us as well. Do you have questions for Bing? It's almost the end of our episode, so if you have any more questions, please ask them now. And before we leave. So we're gonna wait for if we have more questions, and we are also going to practice our evening ritual with you all. It's also a good way to keep being positive and to keep concentrating on what is making you happy. So I'm just gonna write what it is here. So 3 joys, that's 3 little things that made me happy today. So that's something we do every day in our online class, Dare to Dream. And it doesn't matter if it's something very little or something very big, but it's a very nice habit to have in the evening, and it will actually also help you sleep better and being less stressed and less anxious. So I'm trying to show it now. Do you want to go ahead, Generally, to go first?
Oh, yeah. My first joy for today is I spoke to my niece and nephew in the Philippines, and they're doing very well. So happy to hear from them. So, because they're teenagers, so I don't get to speak to them that much. And second is yeah, being able to do this, and yeah, and seeing the comments from our sisters from the Uplifters community. And yeah, it's great to be in touch, to keep in touch with everybody, especially these days. And the third joy for me is, well, it's always about food because can't go out. So yeah, there's a nice bowl of when I come home, Filipino food that I love. Yeah, so having that for dinner.
Nice.
Yeah, so very very happy for that.
And you, Bing, what made you happy today?
Yeah, so the three things that made me happy today, first was being able to have a good conversation with my employers. We just sit and talk about things that what I want to do in the future, and so for them. So it made me feel like they really care for me. So the second thing was that you know uh, seeing my son calling me without anything. He just called me and he asked me like, what's your post? Because he's the type that he will never contact me or what. I mean, he's busy, but I'm really happy that he called me. And then the third is now this thing made me really happy, to share some experience with my. I think I'm part of Uplifters. I'm one of the first batch.
Yeah, I
And
think.
yeah. So these things made me happy, sharing my experience, giving advices to my fellow domestic workers and seeing them interact with us. And yeah, being part of this uh, live uh, broadcasting, because I think a lot of them wants to talk or listen to us. And yeah, it happened. And thank you so much. It's really made me happy.
Thank you as well for being here with us tonight. It's clearly one of the 3 things that made me happy today. This broadcast with you is very nice. And it was a long day and I was feeling a bit tired, but it clearly gave me energy back just to be here chatting and trying to share your advice with the community. It's really nice. And the other thing that made me happy today is that we had a new volunteer joining us at the office this morning, helping us with communications. So it's really nice to have new people joining the team. And we had a very good meeting this afternoon with our programs team. So Camille and Natalie, and we are discussing improvements to our online course Dare to Dream. So changes coming in the future, and it's very exciting. It's already a great course, and to see how we can make it even better makes me very happy. So yes, and so the last one that I started just to be here with you tonight. I'm not sure. I'm gonna check if we had more comments or questions while we were doing the ritual. So we had Anne-Marie saying that she's happy we had this live, and that communication is so important to understand people better, to removing understanding. That's for sure. I think it's one of the most important topic, and we will have more resources coming soon on it to help you. We had a comment from Christina. Yes, clearly distancing is important. Oh, thank you for commenting with what made you happy today. God's family safety, think positive. Yes. And then the last one. Yes. We will do more live program. We try to do a little bit of everything. So we have this antivirus live, and we want to do more lives in the future. We also have our online course for people. The problem with the lives is that you need to be available. And our online course, you can do it whenever you want. So it's more flexible. So we do a combination of Facebook Lives and the online course that is more static and that is available anytime. So that's very complementary. There was a last thing that I wanted to share with you all is, so Bing is not only a volunteer, she's also a writer, and she's contributing to home blog, right? My Voice at Home. And she wrote a great article recently on rest days and how to cope with the situation. So in case you don't know this website, I strongly encourage you to have a look at it. It's this website, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we will also share again the article. So Bing article is very nice, and it's a nice complement. It's very complementary to this Facebook Live. I think we had a few more comments coming. Yeah, well, thank you as well, everybody. Thank you for sharing your comments to the questions and being here with us. Okay, so one more question. I'm going to show it here. What will you do first if there is no more virus? I want to live and eat in a buffet restaurant. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, well, that was we showed this one already. Yeah, so thank you everybody for being so positive. It's again difficult times for everybody, and at least for me, it was a very nice and positive moment to share with you all, and I hope it was for you as well. Thank you being so much for all your precious advice. Really, thank you so much.
Anytime. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Yeah.
We hope to have you again in the future, and it's
Yes,
time
please.
to say yes.
Anytime for Uplifters.
Thank you. Well, have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Keep well.
Good night, everyone.